I was watching this YouTube video the other day, and it was about this guy he basically couldn't talk to women. He was really socially anxious and just kind of weird and had never had a girlfriend, never really ever spoke to a girl. And basically, what he was doing is he was kind of doing this like weird social experiment where he was stood outside of this, just outside this shop, okay, on like a busy street. And he was effectively just standing there and like going up. And when he would see an attractive woman, he would just go up to her and like almost step out into the pathway and just be like, and say some like cringy pickup line like, "Oh, you're right, darling, can I get your number?" And it was like, I remember watching thinking, what the fuck is this? Like, how is it that so many people still to this day do not understand that this method of like, cold approach and stuff is just not the way forward when it comes to being an attractive person and being able to, pick up women as such. For a start, standing outside of a fucking shop and, offering yourself like some kind of like fucking, I don't know, like you're a stall outside of a fucking on the street. It's just weird, bro. Like you literally stood there, and because you're stood there with the pure, well, obviously this is just, I'm just giving an example of this one gentleman that I saw in the video, and him being stood there just like outside of a shop with this mindset of right, cold approach, cold approach, cold approach. Whenever I see a girl, you're in this weird, almost like predator mindset. That's never ever going to get you anywhere with women. Trust me. Like that's probably the worst thing you can do. And it made me think back to a time when I used to go clubbing like quite regular. I don't really go clubbing much anymore. So, but I remember thinking at the time, because obviously you get into like random conversations with girls and for like no reason, because everyone's kind of in that, social environment. Everyone, drinks are flowing, whatever, music, everyone's dancing, everyone's just having a good time. No one's really stressed, everyone's enjoying themselves. It's just one of those environments. So you get into random conversations with just everyone, okay? Not just, guys, girls, whatever it is. And it made me think, because I remember this one period of time where I'd get into like a random conversation with a girl at the bar, and it wouldn't even be anything remotely like, tailored towards me trying to attract her or anything like that. It'd just be a random conversation, such as like maybe I don't know, maybe she'd accidentally bump into me and she'd start like, "Oh, sorry," and it's like, "Oh, it's fine." And you make a joke and you get into like a normal regular conversation, and then from there, that's when you can start to progress it a little bit further. But it made me think, if everyone was kind of always in this mindset of rather than cold approach, but just treating everyone, like women and men, just the same, treating women like as humanizing them, all right, and getting into normal conversations with them rather than cold approaching them, then you would have so much more success with women. Because the hardest part when it comes to the cold, I'm going to call it the cold approach, but I hate the term because it's like, it's so cringe and like red pill, but I'm going to use the term just so you guys actually know what I'm talking about. The actual process of cold approach would be made so much easier if you just didn't do it at all, okay? But instead, you lived a life where you're going out and you're just randomly meeting women all over the place, and you end up you don't have to cold approach them because you're getting yourself into normal conversations with them, okay? And what that does, and this is the thing, cold approaching is only something that's like so unsuccessful because of what it actually is. Like you'll see some guys, for example, in the video that I watched, where they will obviously make the sole purpose of the video to go and cold approach as many women as possible to see how many, successes they get, see how many numbers they get, whatever. And you'll see most of the time they'll get rejected hundreds and hundreds of times. And it's because of the mindset they're in. It's because of this weird frame of mind where they're in this, I've got to cold approach this girl. I've got to go and talk to her. There's an attractive girl there. Let me go and ask for a number. And they go over, and because they've got this goal in their brain of cold approaching, it makes them weird, and they go over with this weird energy of like, "Hi, can I get your number?" It makes them feel shy, timid, awkward, weird. The girl can tell, trust me, she can literally sense it. And you end up just saying the most generic, boring ass line ever. "Oh, can I get your number?" Like, she's not going to be attracted by that at all, bro. Because what you have to remember is that girls get this probably all the time, okay? Yeah, fair enough. Not many guys have the bollocks to actually go up to the girl, but they know, if she's an attractive girl, she gets a lot of attention. She gets probably guys coming up to her every now and then. You don't stand out to her. What you will stand out to her though is, sorry, what the fuck did I just say then? You will stand out to her though if you are, let's say, in the same environment, you're just doing your own thing, okay? You're just living your life as a man, okay? And you happen to be in the same vicinity of this woman, and you start a normal conversation, just a regular conversation. You're not with this mindset of cold approach, I've got to attract her, I've got to get the number. Not with that mindset at all. Completely get rid of that, okay? Stop thinking of it as I have to attract her. Think of it more as, I'm just going to talk to this girl. I'm just going to talk to this person, okay? Humanize her. She is a woman. She's a human, okay? She's like you, okay? She's got flaws and insecurities the same as you, all right? So treat her that way, okay? If you're near a woman, you could literally ask a very simple, plain, innocent question just to start a normal conversation. And then from that point, that's when you can start to progress it a little bit further into, you know, flirting, all that kind of stuff, you know, closing into actually, you know, maybe, yes, a lot of the times you may want to get the number of this girl, but that's not the first thing you go for, okay? You start an initial normal conversation, then you can gradually increase to that because it makes it less weird in your brain. The hardest part about actually talking to a girl is actually going and talking to a girl. Is actually the first step of actually going and doing it. So the easiest way to actually do that is by not cold approaching, by just being in her vicinity, just being around women, so you can start normal conversations with them, okay? Get yourself into situations where you will just happen to talk to women, all right? So you won't need to cold approach because you'll just be able to talk to them anyway. Now, obviously, that is a completely separate thing to being able to attract them, being the type of guy who knows how to, you know, knows how to flirt, knows how to talk to women, knows what to say, knows when to say it, knows how to say it, knows what makes women tick, understands female psychology. That's a whole different part. And we can teach you that inside of my coaching program if you are interested in that. I'll leave a link to the application below this video or in the, it's also in my YouTube bio. We'll teach you a lot more in-depth techniques and methods into, like, you know, talking to women, psychology of women, you know, what women think, what women find attractive. All that is inside of my coaching program. We've taught many clients how to go from complete nerds to absolute fucking womanizers, bro. Trust me, we know what we're talking about. So that is a completely separate thing, actually being able to attract the woman and being able to retain her and being able to close the number. But initially, because a lot of young men find that they're like, oh, you know, I can't talk to women. I'm scared of talking to women. I'm scared of going up and, you know, asking for the number. And I always say, every single time I say to them, you don't have to go up and ask for the number. You don't have to cold approach the girl because she doesn't want you to do that anyway. She's not going to find that attractive. What you need to do as a man is be on your mission, be on your purpose, live your life as a man, but make sure that you're living a life where you're around lots of people, okay? So you're going to just bump into women left, right, and center, all right? You're going to bump into beautiful women wherever you go. So if that's the case, you're then going to be in situations where you're just going to be talking to women all the time. The nightclub is a prime example. If you go out to the nightclub regularly, okay, you're in an environment where you're going to be able to talk to women very often. That's why most of the, you know, that's why hookups and shit like that all happen in nightclubs, because it's not only is it like an alcohol fueled environment where everyone's enjoying themselves, everyone's their most confident version because of alcohol, and everyone's just talking, but you're just around loads of women, so you're bound to get yourself into some kind of conversation. And a lot of the time you don't have to go and approach her, you don't have to go over to her and be like, oh, you know, you're really beautiful, can I have your number? Like that, you don't need to do that because you're just around them. You can start random conversations, okay? You can just play around, you know, be playful with it. And yeah, you might even if you do start a normal conversation, okay, with a girl and she kind of just blanks you, ignores you or whatever, and she's not interested in the conversation, that's fine as well. It doesn't matter about that because it's at least you've not gone in with this cold approach, can I have your number, and you've got like flat out rejected. You haven't been rejected. The girl just isn't interested in talking, okay? You just fair enough, that's fine. You know, I'll move on with my day, okay? On to the next thing, okay? Not like, all right, cold approach, let's go and talk to this girl. Oh, she rejected me. All right, on to the next one. Like, that just puts you in such a weird, like, just almost predator mindset. You don't want to come across like a weirdo, bro. Trust me, that's just so sad that when I see these guys saying, oh, I'm going to go to the mall and cold approach 100 girls. It's like, you're probably never going to succeed. And a lot of the time they don't succeed at all. They get like maybe one girl that says yes. And it's because of the mind frame that they are in. And the mind frame that you're in literally gives energy out, okay? Women can sense it, they can feel it, everyone can, all right? When you're going up to a girl and you're like, can I have your number? They can feel that you're nervous, shy, whatever it is, and you don't stand out at all because you're like every other guy, and she finds it unattractive. So that's why most of the time when you cold approach, you will get rejected, all right? And when I was, obviously, like I said, when I was in the nightclub that time, this was like 1 or 2 years ago, but I just remember thinking to myself, wow, this is actually so much easier than the cold approach method that everyone seems to be so stressed about, and everyone is like, oh, I'm so nervous to talk to girls. There's no nerves at all. There's no like pressure behind any situation when it comes to just talking to a normal person, which we should be doing in a day-to-day, you know, on your day-to-day life, interacting with human beings. She's a human just like you, so talk to her. Yes, she may be beautiful. It doesn't make her superior to you in any way. You should also be holding yourself to high standards as well, and holding yourself as a prize. You are a man. You're a high value man. You're well. You may not be technically a high value man yet, but you're working towards that. Okay, you're on your goal. You're on your mission. You're working hard. You're going to the gym. You're looking good. You know, obviously, yeah. You've got to do the other things as well. You've got to you've got to look after yourself. You know, make sure you're doing everything you can to make sure you're an attractive man. You know, keep your hygiene on point. Go out smelling nice. Dress well. Go to the gym. Look after yourself. Have a good body. Look good. Feel good. You know, eat well, drink lots of water, do all those things, okay? And then in your day-to-day life, obviously, you're still improving your social skills. You're talking to people, you're talking to guys, you're talking to girls. You're improving yourself as a person. But then at the same time, you're living a life where you're putting yourself in these scenarios where you're going to talk to women, okay? Let's say, you know, and you maybe one day you don't talk to any women at all because you've not been around any women. You've just been working at home and then you went to the gym. You want to have one of those days, that's fair enough. But for the majority of the time, bro, make sure you're living a life of, you know, where you're actually being social and you're putting yourself in environments where women actually are. And then you can work on the necessary skills to be able to become the man who can attract that woman. As I've said before, we teach exactly that in my coaching program. And also, side note, if you want to get daily lessons into dating as well, the ones that are a little bit more in depth, the ones that I don't share on YouTube, okay, and ones a little bit more into my personal life, you can join my free Telegram, okay? I'll put a link to that in the description of this video. So we're looking to try and build a good, strong community around that. There's something very, very exciting going to be dropping in my Telegram, okay? That only people in my Telegram will get access to this when I drop it, okay? So stay tuned for that. And if you want access to that early, then join the Telegram, okay? I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. I'm not going to give you too much information. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, in a nutshell, that is what it is. That's why cold approaching is weird. And that's how you can cold approach women without being weird. By not cold approaching, by not going over and asking for the number, by not being in this mind frame of cold approach, but by simply living by living your life and being in the mind frame of simply talking to another human being. And it is as simple as that. I cannot put it any simpler than that, okay? Because so many guys get this confused and they're like, what are you talking about? They're women, you know, that it's different. They're different to men. They're not different to men, bro, because you can talk to men and you can also talk to women. They're not fucking predators. They're not weirdos. They're not some magical creatures, bro. Right, I don't know why my fucking camera keeps cutting out. It's done that in so many videos, bro. It's so annoying. But yeah, that's everything, bro. That's how to cold approach without being a weirdo, all right? If you enjoyed the video, drop it a like, bro. Drop it a like, bro. If you've got any questions, I'll leave a link to my Instagram below. You can ask me anything you want. I'm always happy to answer a question. Drop me a follow. If you have any questions in the comments, feel free to ask, and I'll see you boys in a bit.